have some thoughts only because you keep asking. And my thoughts are very brief. But I will also answer your questions. It's mostly people hitting me up and asking me questions about this. So I'm here to answer your questions. And I don't know, let's just get started. A freaking IKEA chair. Okay, so right after screening of my film as part of Film Fest Tucson to students at the University of Arizona, where I talked to them about independent film and the film industry. That was Saturday, and the next day I came back home to messages from numerous people telling me that G4 TV was officially canceled. Less than 1 year after the return of G4, it was announced during Comic-Con in July of 2020 that G4 TV would return. It then announced finally the date, November 21st, 2021, G4 would return. And it did, with a whole new crew of people. Hey, you also had Adam Sessler, you had Kevin Pereira, and then all sorts of new people, mostly from YouTube and Twitch, people covering all areas of pop culture and video games and whatnot, came together to relaunch G4. Frosks had her infamous rant, which was, in my opinion, probably unwise. While what she's saying, there's truth to what she's saying, there's a different way to deliver the message. I think you have to think to yourself, what is the result I would like? What is strategically, if you're strategically thinking, what would I like people to do? I would like people to maybe be kinder and nicer in chat. Is lecturing and telling the audience to go away the right way to do that? No. Anything that ever happened on the old G4, which I was a part of for 8 years, I was on 3 episodes of the Screensavers, and in March of 2005, I did DV Tuesday on G4 TV nearly every week. Okay, I did that. I also did reporting. I would cover films. I was part of E3 coverage. I was also part of covering things like Sundance and South by Southwest film festivals. I was also part of the CES coverage, among other things. So I was on the network on Attack of the Show in various capacities. I did other shows while I was at G4. And it was, for me, the best television experience I've ever had because I was able to be myself on camera. I was able to do things like say whatever I want within reason. I could wear whatever I want. I wore t-shirts for bands that I liked, for movies I liked. I wore Film Threat t-shirts. It was truly the best experience I ever had on TV. And it sadly ended. And since that time, I have people come up to me and they say, whatever happened to G4 TV and whatever happened to Attack of the Show? You were on that show. So I decided, this was in 2018, I decided to make a documentary. It's called Attack of the Doc. It's about the legacy of Attack of the Show and G4 TV and kind of how, the network launched at a time when nerds were not cool. And in the time that G4 started up through, from like the network really, really sort of got its legs, and Attack of the Show launched in March of 2005. The network technically launched in 2002. But it was just a few years later that suddenly nerds were cool, right? Being a nerd, tech was really popular, new tech, right? Marvel, I think the rise of Marvel movies mainstreamed being a nerd and made it cool. And it was a different time. So this is what my documentary is about. What's happened recently and seeing the network go away is pretty sad for me, because I will say this, G4 was not initially like a huge hit. It took a couple years of being around. From 2005, really was like around 2007, I thought, oh, this is kind of popular now. And it's the most fun I ever had doing TV. The recent cancellation, unfortunately, doesn't surprise me for a couple reasons. And I think a lot of them have nothing, you can blame the behavior of some of the talent on the network. But truthfully, I believe that if G4 was going to make a comeback, they would have had to provide something that is not already readily available on YouTube. What I think G4 and Attack of the Show did was inspire a generation of YouTubers to do their own thing. Because trust me when I say, I'm not a guy that I felt was ever qualified to be on television. I lucked into being on TV because I wrote weird stuff on the internet. Somebody thought, well, if you can write these things on the internet, maybe you can talk on television. That remains to be seen. But what I will say is that most of the on-camera talent at G4 weren't necessarily professionally TV trained, but they knew video games. They knew, well, at least I know movies, right? Blair Butler knows comics. So what I think that proved was you don't have to have any professional experience necessarily to be able to talk to an audience. If you can be engaging with knowledge and speak passionately about something, you're gonna build an audience. And I think if G4 were going to come back and actually return successfully, it would have to provide something that is not already readily available and being done by YouTubers with 100,000 subscribers, million subscribers. There are huge YouTube channels dedicated to one personality talking about generally an area of pop culture or whatnot. So how do you compete with that? You have to do something different. And G4 didn't do that. The new G4 basically decided to do what the old G4 did, except I don't know that this is what the marketplace really needed. I think that there is a profound lack of trust when it comes to mainstream media of all types, not just news, not just political news, but also entertainment news. There's a general distrust. There is a trust of personalities. And I think what people look for, and I think what made the original G4 successful was authenticity. Okay. Look, if I got up there on a DV Tuesday and I said, this is a buy, rent, or pass, like that was pretty much the rating scale that I used. You can disagree with me if you like, but that was my take. And I just know from having worked there that the people I knew, who they were in front of the camera, very much like who they were behind the camera. And it was, for me, the best experience I ever had. The new G4, for it to succeed, needed to do something different. And I think that by not doing anything, by not really providing anything different or providing anything that you could get somewhere else on YouTube, that was a mistake. And again, this is a lesson. You never attack the audience, even if you're right. Because I will say there is truth in what Frosk was saying, some truth. She was clearly attacked, right? But you take those feelings, and the old G4 would have turned that into a joke that would be self-deprecating. And I think that that's how that should have been handled, is with humor. And I think if it was handled with humor as then she would have gotten the audience on her side. As it is, attacking the audience was completely the wrong thing to do. I do take offense at one thing that has come out recently. There was a series of tweets responding to the demise of G4. And one of the things was that the new people at the new G4 were going to fix the mistakes of the past. Fix the mistakes of the past. The reason you're even doing a new G4 is because there was an old G4. That legacy, the brand exists because of the old network. And that to me, that lack of respect for what the old G4 built, the old G4 built a following, an audience that still likes what it was. And the new G4 did not deliver that. That was a colossal mistake. And I think to fix it tells me that there was something wrong with it. And I will say this, I'm proud of what we did at Attack of the Show and on G4. And yeah, did we do embarrassing things? Hell yeah. I don't apologize. Not for one thing. Did I say things that were probably could be considered by today's standards inappropriate? Yes, I did. And it was funny. So that's all I have to say about that. I want to know what you think. Alan, any comments before I go to the chat?
Yeah. So I don't know. I was mildly excited to see it come back, and I saw the launch, and when I saw the launch, I realized this is not going to go anywhere. This is really bad. And one day, if anyone ever cares, like I said, I've been doing improv comedy for 30 years, but improv comedy has changed in the last 10, 15 years for the worse. And the reason I bring this up is because I know a few of the writers who were writing at G4, and they were indicative of what was happening in comedy, especially amongst millennials, and they just really fed into that, and so, you know, the thing I was looking for in this opening episode of G4 was funny comedy, and you know, it was. And the boobs. What?
See, Alan, that's something that the old G4 would have done.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
Face on Phoebe Cates.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was hilarious. You are so spot on with that.
All right. Okay.
No, but
look, having a sense,
it was doomed from the beginning, because you needed the amount of money they were spending on this, the overhead that they had. They needed a large audience, and a large audience fast, and they were presenting a crappy product, and it could not sustain the viewers that it needed in order to make any kind of money back, and that was how it was doomed from the beginning. And all Frost did was basically say, it's over, it's done. You know, they don't care. They don't care about they don't realize that they need viewers, and then they insulted the viewers and made sure more ran away.
Let's go to your chat questions. And I had nothing to do with the new G4, but I was rooting for it to succeed. And really, while my documentary is more about the legacy of the old G4, we do talk about the new G4 in the doc and the return. Okay. So it's in the documentary. But and you'll get to see that documentary. I literally just finished it, and in fact, we're still making some slight tweaks to it. The documentary will be released sometime next year. There'll be a special edition Blu-ray. Those go to the Kickstarter backers first, and then we'll have a commercially available version of the Blu-ray, and then on video on demand, and eventually a streaming service. So look for it. Finishing a movie was one thing, and now releasing a movie, that's like a whole other job. And I really can't wait for you all to see it. But I kind of feel like putting a little bit of distance between, you know, like let the dust settle on the new G4, and then I think people will be ready to see this documentary.